Hello everyone. I hope you all are going well with your online classes and learning a lot. So this crisis it will not affect your study. So today I'm here to discuss a poem London that is written by William Blake. You have one more poem written by William Blake in your syllabus that was Tiger. We have already read that poem and I have sent a video on that poem. I hope you all have got that poem. So today we will read the poem London. So before we start reading the poem, let me tell you about the poem. So the poem London, it is one of the most remarkable poem of William Blake and it was published in Songs of Experience and it was written in 1794. So this poem the poem London, written by William Blake, who was a poet, artist, mystic and philosophic, and he had no real schooling, but he became a great remarkable poet. And so he was stirred by the French Revolution and he also wrote about it, and his most widely read poems are Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. So the present poem that we are going to read it was published in Songs of Experience. So it appeared in Songs of Experience and the poem deals with the city, as the title suggests. It deals with the problems and the sufferings that William Blake sees when he visits or when he wanders in the streets of London. So it is regarded as one of Blake's finest poems, and we can say that the poem begins with a very general statement about the streets and the river. When we read the poem, we will get to know. So we are going to start the poem. William Blake, London. I wandered through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forced manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier shy runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blast the newborn infant's tear and blights with plague the marriage hears. So, if we read the first stanza, the poet he gives his own view of that chartered liberty on which his countrymen they were very proud. And he is exposing the indisputable ugly condition, ugly facts. So Blake's compassionate heart was outraged and wounded by the sufferings which society inflicts on its members. So the poem begins with a walk through the chartered streets of London. So whenever Blake goes, he finds marks of weakness and marks of woe on every face. You read the line, I wander through each chartered street. So the poet wanders through the chartered streets of London, especially streets near the river Thames. So wherever he went, he saw signs of pains and sufferings on everybody's face. So he can hear men and women crying. He can see people suffering, and he also sees small children. They are also crying out of fear. So everywhere he hears cries of pains and sufferings. And on analyzing the cause of all these sufferings and pains, he finds that it is all due to society. And the poet finds that the sufferings are caused by repression. What is repression? Means they are repressed. They are denied everything. He was convinced that repression in all its forms is man-made. So this repression is man-made. Man-made means it is made by man. It came from man's mind. So the poet says that each street in London is chartered. Chartered means it is clearly defined. So like the Chartered Thames Limited, confined by its definition. So every face in London is chartered, and they are marked with signs of weakness, signs of sorrow. Woe means sorrow. So the poet says that street is chartered, and even the river Thames that flows in the city, it is also chartered. Now we move to the second stanza. The poet says, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind forced manacles I hear. So the poet sees that these manacles are mind forced, they are man made, and it came from man's mind. So everybody is suffering, the kids are suffering, every person is suffering, even the infants. There is a cry of fear on the faces of infants. So now the poet is talking about the two big institutions, that is the church and the palace. So in the third stanza, the poet says what he says, that the people, they are the victim of system, and this system is based not on brotherhood but on fear. Everybody is afraid, everybody is scared of, they are terrified. So the child chimney sweeper and the soldier and the harlot, they are types of oppressed, they are victims. So each in his own way shows up the shams on which high society thrives. So the poet hears the cry of the chimney sweeper. He cries according to his custom. That cry also indicates his problem, his sufferings, his pain, and he also sees the church and imagines that the churches are turning black, they are turning pale. Why they are turning pale? Because of shame or pity. So the word apal, it is very suggestive, it's very fine word. The poet hears the sighs of the unlucky soldier who has lost all hopes of his life. So the soldier is called hapless. Hapless means unlucky. So he is called unlucky because he is fighting for a country, and he is spilling his blood for a king that no longer cares for him. So that's why the soldier is called hapless, unlucky. Now the poet hears the sighs of the unlucky soldier who has lost all hopes of his life, and he has been punished by the court. So when the poet wanders through the streets of London at midnight, he hears the cries of young harlot. When we read the last stanza, the poet is talking about a youthful harlot. Harlot is prostitute. So here we see the suffering of a prostitute and her unwanted and illegal child. So both the mother and the unwanted child, they are the victim of society. So the mother is cursing the system, the mother is cursing the institution of society. So Blake in this example contrasts natural happiness and unnatural repression. So the poet says that the earth is chained as much by its own psychological predisposition as by the social injustice. And the misery of the inhabitants of the city of London is interdependent. So this is we can say it's most painful scene, that how an infant is also crying, and it's the most forcefully expressed in this poem concluding stanza. And it is important that the harlot is youthful, she is very young, and her newborn infant is itself not so far from the condition of the whore. because if the newborn infant is a girl, she would, there are also 99% chances of her becoming harlot or another prostitute. So her curse is not only what she shouts against society, but the disease she is certain to succumb to. So, this disease is not referred to show how dreadful the fate of the prostitute is, but because it is effective and destructively so towards the newborn infant's generation. So, the marriage institution is cursed. The young prostitute is cursing the marriage institution. Here we have example of oxymoron, because the poet is using the word heirs. Heirs is a word that is somewhat somehow associated with funeral. So the poet has incorporated this word with in this stanza, and it's an oxymoron. And there are, so the misery of the young harlot, it's forcefully expressed in this stanza. So the marriage car is a hearse, and the misery of the people of London is not simply discomfort, it's a death following disease which cannot be cured because it is neither acknowledged socially nor understood to be fundamental to society's disabilities. So if we go through the poem, we have come to know that this poem, it's a very forceful expression of poets' ideas about the city London, and he has very beautifully and we can say forcefully described the victims, that how the people, how the all the people of the city London, they are suffering. Though London is considered to be a very developed city, but still the people are suffering. So the poem represents criticism of society and of the whole trend of contemporary civilization. He is making an attack on industrialization, cruelty, hypocrisy, poverty, misuse of institution, frustration of desire. So these are all evils, and these evils lead to corrupt society. They destroy society. So in this poem, the poet gives his own view of the chartered liberty on which his countrymen piled themselves. The child sweeper, the unfortunate soldier, and the harlot are Blake's types of oppressed. They are oppressed. They are not at all blessed person. So the poet is, though there is no moralizing in this poem, he is only showing the shameful picture of society, same shameful picture of city London. The poet has given very beautiful imagery, images of child, images of church, image of young harlot, and the marriage hearse. And very we can also see simplicity in the poem, very in a very simple language. The language is very simple and lucid. So he has emphasized forcefully the sufferings that he sees whenever he wanders in the chartered street of London. So I hope you all have got the poem. Thank you.